Summer of 1956. America is laying down the interstate highway system, and the economy is roaring to the sound of a V8 engine. This is the absolute peak of physical, mechanical power. Detroit is the undisputed king of this era. Beyond building transportation, these automakers are dictating the rhythm of American culture and driving the global economy. Look at how this empire actually operates. Thousands of parts flow in a strict, straight line down the assembly floor, locking together into a final, unchanging product. The business model itself is a straight line. You build a car, you sell it to a customer, and the moment those tires hit the pavement off the lot, the transaction is over. These vehicles are masterpieces of engineering, but their brilliance relies entirely on bending metal, sparking combustion, and turning gears. There is zero computation happening under the hood. Detroit has perfected the physical machine, but this rigid scaffolding has a hard ceiling. A machine built entirely of gears and chrome cannot learn, it cannot adapt, and it cannot process information. 600 miles away from the noise of those assembly lines, the campus of Dartmouth College in New Hampshire is quiet. Here, a small group of mathematicians and computer scientists, John McCarthy, Marvin Minsky, Nathaniel Rochester, and Claude Shannon, are settling in for a 2-month summer workshop. Researchers like Claude Shannon are operating in a universe completely detached from Detroit's heavy engineering. They are building out complex equations and theoretical mathematics, working entirely in the abstract. Their proposal for this workshop is staggering. They believe that every single aspect of human learning can be described so precisely that a machine can be programmed to simulate it. Over those 8 weeks, they start drafting a new language for this concept. They define ideas like symbolic reasoning, the framework for teaching a machine how to process logic by manipulating symbols instead of just crunching numbers. The 8-week summer produced no working robots, but it established something far more durable, the permanent intellectual scaffolding and the name for an entirely new scientific discipline, artificial intelligence. Detroit completely ignores this workshop. To an industry earning record profits from physical engineering, these academics doing abstract math are totally invisible. This disconnect grew from a rigid clash between two different organizational architectures. Look at this diagram of the 1950s automotive supply chain. It is a one-way journey. Raw materials enter the factory, become a vehicle, and move straight to the dealership. Machine learning requires the exact opposite, an endless feedback loop where systems constantly learn and adapt from new information. That is the structural problem. You cannot take a continuous cognitive feedback loop and simply bolt it onto a rigid, linear manufacturing machine. It would take 50 years for the seeds planted at Dartmouth to reach the physical assembly line. The theories drafted there were complete on paper, but they required a global infrastructure of data and processing power that would take decades to build. So the two worlds run on parallel tracks. The purely mechanical dominance of the 20th century slowly rusts and gives way, while those mathematical theories quietly evolve in the background. The vocabulary drafted in 1956 finally found its match as raw computational power reached a massive new scale. In 1956, Detroit believed its only destiny was bending metal. They didn't realize that a small summer camp at Dartmouth had just drafted the blueprints that would eventually force them into the business of building intelligence.